Registrar General, Deputy National Statistician Rosalinda Bautista of the Sectoral Statistics Office, Assistant National Statistician Divina Gracia del Prado of the Economic Sector Statistics Service, and Ms. Elena Varona, Chief of the Price Statistics Division. To start our press conference, please welcome Yusek Dennis Mapa for the presentation of the July 2019 inflation.
Good morning, everyone. The Philippine Statistics Authority is pleased to report the inflation rate of the Philippines for the month of July 2019. The country's headline inflation rate further eased to 2.4% in July 2019. This was the lowest inflation recorded since January 2017, and it was the same rate observed in July 2017. With the 2.4 inflation in July 2019, this brings the year-to-date inflation for 2019 to 3.3%. Inflation in June 2019 was higher at 2.7%, and in July 2018, 5.7%. Among the 11 commodity groups, the top contributor to the overall inflation was food and non-alcoholic beverages, which recorded an annual rate of 1.9%. The share of this commodity group to the overall inflation was 31.6%. Specifically, the items that primarily contributed to the July 2019 inflation of the food group were the following: meat, 3.5% inflation and 37.4% share; fish, 3.8% inflation and 37.3% share; and other cereals, flour, cereal preparation, bread, pasta, and other bakery products, 3.3% inflation and 18.6% share. The second commodity group that largely contributed to the overall inflation was housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels, which posted a 2.2% inflation and a share of 21.1% share to the overall inflation. Major contributors to the July 2019 inflation of the housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels group were the following: actual rentals for housing, 3.5% inflation and 93.5% share; fuel, wood, 6.3% inflation and 10.5% share; and water distribution services, 4.1% inflation and 9.9% share. The third major contributor to the overall inflation was restaurant and miscellaneous goods and services, which had a 3.3% inflation and an 18% share to the overall inflation in July 2019. Specific items that contributed to the July 2019 inflation of this commodity group were meals eaten outside the home, 3.4% inflation, 68.2% share; personal care with 2.9% inflation and 27.5% share; and personal effects with 2.2% inflation and 3.1% share. Among the 11 commodity groups, slower annual increments were noted in the indices of the following: food and non-alcoholic beverages, 1.9%; alcoholic beverages and tobacco, 8.8%; housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels, 2.2%; furnishing, household equipment, and routine maintenance of the house, 2.9%; health, 3.2%; and finally, transport, 0.7%. On the other hand, annual increase in the index of clothing and footwear was higher at 2.6% in July 2019. Also, the annual growth of education index accelerated by 4.2% compared with its June 2019 annual rate of negative 4.5%. Meanwhile, the following commodity groups retained their annual rates in June 2019. Communication, 0.3%, recreation and culture, 3.2%, and restaurant and miscellaneous goods and services, 3.3%. The main driver in the downward trend of inflation in July 2019 was food and non-alcoholic beverages. Specifically, the food groups primarily contributed to the downward trend of inflation in July 2019. We have rice, negative 2.9% in July, from negative 1.7% in June. Corn, negative 3.0% from negative 4.0%. Oils and fats, 2.5% from 2.9%. Vegetables, 3.4% from 9.5%. Sugar, jam, chocolate, honey, and confectionery, negative 1.4% from 2.2%. And other food products, 6.7% from 7.3%. The slowdown in the July 2019 inflation was also brought about by housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels. Particularly, the items that contributed to the slower inflation in July were electricity, negative 0.5% from 2.1%, LPG, negative 5.9% from 0.2%, firewood, 6.3% from 7.2%, and charcoal, 4.7% from 5.6%. Transport also contributed to the downward trend of the July 2019 inflation. The items that primarily contributed to the slower inflation in July 2019 were petroleum and fuels or personal transport equipment, negative 2.8% from negative 4.1%. Jeepney fare, 2.1% from 6.0%. And domestic airfare, negative 11.5% from negative 9.7%. A downward trend in the inflation of the National Capital Region was likewise posted in July as it recorded a slower annual increase of 2.3%. Its annual rate was observed at 3.0% in June 2019 and 6.5% in July 2018. Following the same trend as the national level and the National Capital Region, inflation in areas outside the National Capital Region decelerated further to 2.4% in July 2019. Inflation in June 2018 was higher at 2.6%, and in July last year, 2018, 5.5%. The highest annual rate among the regions in areas outside the National Capital Region remained in Mimaropa region at 4.9% in July 2019. This was slightly lower than its annual rate in June 2019 at 5.2%. The lowest inflation among the regions in areas outside the National Capital Region was recorded in Region 7, Central Visayas, at 1.1%. This was the same rate observed last month in June 2019. For Mimaropa, among the 11 major commodity groups, the top contributor to the overall inflation of Mimaropa region were the following: food and non-alcoholic beverages, 2.6% inflation and 25.1% share. Housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels, 6.5% inflation and 24.8% share. Restaurant and miscellaneous goods and services, 7.3% inflation and 13.3% share. Alcoholic beverages and tobacco, 28.9% inflation and 12% share. And transport, 5.5% inflation and 9.5% share. Comparing with our annual rates in June, inflation in 9 regions in areas outside the National Capital Region decelerated in July 2019. The other 5 regions registered higher annual markups in July 2019, while 2 regions, Region 7, Central Visayas, and Region 8, Eastern Visayas, retained their June 2019 annual rates. At the national level, the seasonally adjusted consumer price index for all items inched up by 0.2% in July 2019 from 0.1% in June 2019. Higher monthly increases were noticed in the indices of the following commodity groups: alcoholic beverages and tobacco, 0.8%, clothing and footwear, 0.4%, furnishing, household equipment and routine maintenance of the house, 0.3%, health, 0.4%, and educational, 2.1%. The index of food and non-alcoholic beverages again registered a zero growth in July 2019. Moreover, movements in the indices of recreation and culture remained at 0.1%, and restaurant and miscellaneous goods and services at 0.3%. The index of housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels also registered a zero growth in July 2019. This ends my presentation on the inflation for July 2019. I enjoin all of you to participate as an announcement in the upcoming 2020 Census of Population and Housing. This is a very important exercise for the country and for the Philippine Statistics Authority. We will conduct this in May 2020, and we hope that you will welcome our data collectors. The Philippine Statistics Authority appreciates your presence in the July 2019 inflation press briefing. And we look forward to meeting you again on September 5, 2019, when we report the inflation for August 2019. Thank you very much and good morning.
Thank you very much, Yusuf Mapa. Before we proceed to the open forum, press kits will be distributed. We ask you to please remain seated. And for the open forum, please wait to be acknowledged before you ask your question, and please state your name and organization once you are acknowledged. We would also appreciate if you could limit your questions to the July 2019 inflation. We now open the floor for questions.
Hello, good morning, sir. I'm Rivera from Inquirer. Regarding rice prices, in July, it posted a 2.3% decline year-on-year. How many months have we been seeing declines in rice prices? And is the 2.3% drop in prices that month the biggest in how many months or maybe years ago? Thank you.
Yeah, I think for negative rate, I think this is the third month that we are seeing the negative inflation for rice. Historically, I have to check the figure, but for this year, I think this is the third month that we have negative, May, June, and June.
Where could we attribute the lower rice prices? Are there, besides the rice tarification law or the liberalization law, are there any other market developments that push rice prices low?
Well, we have to ask down for that. But relatively rice in last year, because this is year on year, the price of rice last year were really high at about this month. So we are seeing a drop, and we're expecting really a negative inflation.
Good morning, I'm Bruce Rodriguez from ABS-CBN News. Sir, good morning. In terms of the month-on-month figures, what trend are we seeing already for the headline number? Are we seeing, does it continue to also show continued deceleration? Thank you.
Our expectation is that it will continue to go down, or at least stabilize at this number in the coming months.
Hello, good morning. I'm Shaliza from Philippine Star. Sir, Mapa has consistently ranked as having the highest inflation among the regions. Sir, what characterizes the inflationary environment in Mapa, and are there other regions that share these characteristics?
As you observed, if you've been tracking the regional inflation for 2019, Mimaropa is quite an outlier, for this year. We checked by province. One particular reason that we're seeing is that because of course Mimaropa consists mainly of island provinces, so the transportation may have an impact on goods and services. But this could be validated on the ground. The reason why we are reporting Mimaropa is that some our LGUs could check and do something on this relatively higher inflation.
All right, any more questions?
Angelo Lance from our vendors. Maybe ask for the month-on-month figures that is not seasonally adjusted.
Yeah. If you check, the June inflation was 2.7, June 2019, and right now it's at 2.4. So that would be 0.3 negative reduction, minus 0.3, because June 2019 figure is 2.7 and July is 2.4.
Next question, please.
For rice, I verified the figure. This is the third month that we are seeing a negative inflation rate. It started in May, minus 0.7, and in June, minus 1.7, and this month, minus 2.9.
So can you track, when was the, sir, can you track in your data when was the last time that prices were declining?
For rice?
For rice.
This year, the price of rice started declining already, but we're seeing already reduction in inflation, and since May, it was already negative.
Prior to last year when there was a...
Okay, the last time. I will have to look at the time series. I'll get back to you.
I just noticed that the base year for the inflation for the bottom 30% households is still 2000 is the base. So will there be any adjustments to have the same base?
We will have the same base starting January 2020, right? ANS grades. Yes, we will have the same base here for both the headline inflation and the inflation of the tourist 30% starting January. it was validated by my technical staff that the last time rice hit a negative inflation was June 2016.
Last question, please. Okay, if there are no more questions, we conclude this press conference. But before we do, we'd like to announce that the press conference on the quarterly national accounts will be held this coming Thursday, August 8th at Astoria Hotel at 10 a.m. So we hope to see you there. Thank you and good morning.